Name is Ochieje Lucy Blessing. I'm a growth manager here at Utiva. In 2 minutes, I'll be handing this class over to Ayo, who is going to do his thing and dish out his knowledge to us. Because as you're seeing Ayo like that, he's full of knowledge. And trust me, if you attend this class, you'll be eager to join his full class because he is a whole lot. And trust me, you will enjoy the class. I don't want to brag too much, but I can't stop bragging because he's good. He's good at what he does. Okay. So, Ayobami, are you on the call? My check, Ayobami. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Lucy. Can you hear
All
me?
right. I can hear you. Thank you so much, Ayo, for being here today. So I'll be handing over the call to you. I'll be having over the class to you. So I'll stop sharing my screen while you come up with your screen. Okay? My check. Okay. I can see your screen is coming up.
It's taking a bit of time.
Yeah.
1 minute, please. Okay, so if you can see my screen from your end, just let me
Yeah,
know. Can
I
you see
can
my screen now?
see it. I can see it. So you can help us put it on a slideshow.
So you can see welcome to,
Yes, I can see it. Welcome
yeah,
to
it's on a
Data
slideshow now.
Practical Session. Okay, yes, it's on slideshow.
Yeah.
Thank you
Can you
so
see it
much.
on the slideshow now?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, good, good, good. Okay, so I guess the floor is mine now.
Yes, the
Okay,
floor
good
is
evening,
yours.
guys. Good evening, guys. If you can hear me clearly, right? Just drop yes in the chat so I can know that, you can all hear me. Right? Just drop yes in the chat if you can hear me clearly. Let me confirm that you guys can hear me. Okay. My name is Abayomi Oje. I'm senior data scientist at Utiva. So trust me, data is what I do. I'm happy to host you guys in tonight's session. Happy to have all of you guys on board. Thank you for taking time out to join this session. So I want to say a big welcome to Data School practical session. But then before I proceed, I would like to, just so you guys can get to know me, I've gotten to know you guys. I've seen a lot of messages in the chats concerning, everyone and the location they're joining from, what they do currently. And, it was nice to go through all of that and to read about each one of you guys. So my name is Abayomi Oje, like I said earlier. I'm the senior data scientist at Utiva. Um, I have expertise in data analysis and data science, which I've been doing for a couple of years, right? Yeah, I also have expertise over a couple of tools like Microsoft Excel, Power BI, Python, R, and many more, right? In this practical session, I'm going to be introducing you to what we do at Utiva Data Scope. So don't worry about it. It's it's hands-on, right? For the most part of it. Whether you're thinking of joining Utiva and doubting whether data school is the best place for you or is it another course, right? After this practical session, you've seen how our work looks like as data professionals. You're definitely going to know whether data is what you want to do or you want to take one of our other courses. Then I also see that there are a lot of people in the data profession already because I see a lot of names, data scientists, data engineer, data analyst. I'm happy to have all of you guys on board. I'm happy whenever I have people like yourselves, to share from my wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much once again for joining the session. Okay. Without wasting much of our time, I see it's 19 already by my time. I would go into what we have, right? So just 1 minute. Okay. So I see there are a lot of people with, big data roles there. So I want to start out on this note, right? And I would like that it is an interactive class. So if you can hear me, can hear my questions, I would like that we give feedbacks. I want to know where we are at the moment, right? So when you hear data, guys, what comes to your mind? Somebody just comes to you and mentions data, because it is important that, before we start taking on any practical project, before we start talking on some of the things we do, we really know, okay, what data is, because every other thing we're going to be doing right from here is going to be based on data. Okay, I see. Omolade says information. Is data actually information? Is data actually information? When we hear the word data, what comes to our mind? Guys, I would like that you respond. For us, many other guys are okay. Someone says accurate numbers, accurate numbers, accurate numbers. Okay, I see some, English coming in. So anyone else wants to help us, so you can drop your replies in the chat. Just make it short, something that I can easily see and read out. So I have information and I have accurate numbers. Guys, is that how we can say to data? Okay. I see data analysts. I see data scientists like Naya. Okay, not to take all of our time. I'll define data as recorded events. Okay, someone said unprocessed information. Okay, I think that's better. Not to waste our time, I define data as recorded events. What do I mean by recorded events, right? Events happen in real life. And if nobody documents them, they just pass by, right? But when you note and you document those events that happen, what we can say you're doing is you are collecting data or you're getting data. So data simply means recorded events. For instance, a good example I like to use, right? There was a particular time you woke up this morning from sleep. Yeah, many people might not care about that. But then think about it. If we take to record the time you woke from sleep today, this morning, we do that tomorrow, we do that next tomorrow, for like the next 3 months, we have accumulated enough data, right? To probably, run an analysis on your sleep pattern, to look at probably maybe you have a sleep disorder, or maybe there's some kind of lifestyle habits that you have that is actually influencing your sleep. So data as recorded events, whenever we get data, it helps us to be able to analyze what is happening and also to be able to predict the future, right? So those events would have passed. Nobody would have taken note of them. If you don't get the record of your sleep for like a long time, maybe 6 months, 3 months, you probably wouldn't know that, there is a pattern to it. You probably wouldn't know that, some things are happening around that you're not paying attention to. So all of these recorded events, in the long run, when we accumulate them, call them data, they can be used to analyze where we are currently. They can be used to analyze how we are doing. They can be used to analyze and, to predict where we are going in the future. So data is very powerful because events happen every time. You ate today, it was at a particular time. You went to work today, it was at a particular time. You came back, it was at a particular time. All of these events can be recorded. So that's what data is. So give me a minute while I go back to my slide. Okay, so now that we know what data is, right? Data analytics refers to the process of, examining all of these data, that is the recorded events, to draw conclusion, which I talked about earlier, about the information they contain. That is why I said information is not, it's not necessarily data. It's not data. When somebody said information in the chat, information is what you draw out of data. Data is raw, it's unprocessed. It's unprocessed in its natural state. So it is when it has been processed, that is when you get information out of it. So data is very important, because it can be used to find, biggest problems to focus on, like in organizations. It can use to investigate the effects of improvements. It can also use to check your current process, if you're actually doing the right thing, or if you could be doing better, or how you're doing as regards to a target that you've set for yourself, right? So I wouldn't be doing talking. And before I go into what we have, I want to explain to us the data analysis profile, right? The data analysis life cycle. Now, we as data professionals, we don't just, we are not just hungry to just collect data and to just work on data. We do data analysis because there is a problem to solve. That's why I said at the beginning of the problem, at the beginning of your analysis, a problem has to be noticed. You have to have a particular problem in mind you want to solve, right? For instance, a couple of years back, I think it was under President Obasanjo's tenure, the government was trying to, collect data concerning farmers. And one thing they did, they went to, I think they built a website or they launched an application to that effect. Imagine you want to collect data about rural farmers. These people are actually supposed to be staying in the most remote places, and you choose to use an app to do that. That's a wrong approach, right? Because, and it can be tied to the fact that they didn't really define the problem and know the people that are majorly affected by the problem. That is why defining your problem is very important. Because when you define your problem, then we can go and pick data. You can go and collect data. You know the problem, you know who the problem affects, you know how the problem affects them, you know the magnitude and all of these things. That is when you can proceed to get data. So when we collect data, whether in spreadsheets, in databases and all of those places, because data naturally come with impurities, we have to clean the data, right? That is the process of, bringing it to the point where you can actually extract information from the data, extract insight from the data. Then when you clean, we can now go ahead and analyze the data. Analysis is the point, when you begin to crunch the numbers. One thing I love to do, when you begin to find insights in the numbers, you begin to use charts, you begin to use, all of those mathematical, statistical functions and those things, begin to use them on the data to turn the numbers into information, to find insights in the numbers. Then when we are done with all of this, we go ahead to visualize our findings or visualize. The essence of visualization is so that all of the insights you found can be communicated with stakeholders and people in the public. Like one thing I found out is a lot of people get diarrhea whenever they see numbers. A lot of people's belly get to turn around whenever they see numbers. People don't just love to see numbers. But then it is our job to take the numbers, make sense of the numbers, and present it to them in charts, present it to them in graphs. During the last election, even an illiterate who does not know that the one number is bigger than the other can definitely see bar charts and can definitely see that probably as it was that time, the picture of the APC man on the chart was much taller than the one of the PDP candidate. So they could read meaning to it. Why? Because we've used charts to simplify the information. Now, even the blind can see. Okay, so I'm going to put this on hold here so that I can take us through a process where we can practicalize all these things we've talked about. Then we can, if time permits us, come back to look at some other things that I would like us to know. So if you are still with me, right, we probably have a question or two concerning all these things I've talked about that you want to ask. I'll give you the time now. It's just 2 minutes or so before we move to practicalizing these processes. I've told you about the steps. I've told you that you have to have a problem, you have to collect data, you have to clean the data, then you analyze the data, then you can visualize, draw insight and share your findings, right? So let's put all of these things to practicality. Let's see how it really works. How do we, take our data through all of these steps? Okay, but then we have 2 minutes in case anyone
Mic check, Ayo. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. I guess Ayo's network has logged him out.
Kind of.
So let's give him a few minutes to get back his network. Yeah, I said that. I think the network has logged him out. Ayo, can you hear me? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, I guess
Yeah.
because of the weather, the network took me out for a bit.
Ayo, don't blame this weather. This weather is
Okay,
very
guys.
extreme. So, one. All right. We can have you
Okay,
back.
guys. Yeah, let me pick up from here. Yeah. Okay, guys. So if you have, I just try to pick us through, the analysis life cycle from defining your problem, to collecting data, to data cleaning, to data visualization and analysis and all of those things. So if you have questions concerning all of that before we go into practicalizing all of these steps, then you can reach out here and I can take your questions. But then if you fully understand and we can continue, just drop continue in the chat. So if we can move
Continue.
on, just drop continue in the chat. Okay, so I'm awaiting more replies from us. Okay, I see Omolade says continue. Gochuku says continue too. Okay, good, good, good. So I see, okay, many of us get the concept. Okay, yeah, so I brought a simple data set for you, a simple fictional data set that can, help us understand what we do as analysts or scientists, right? To walk you through the steps, walk you through the processes that I've earlier highlighted. So just give me a minute while I load it up. Okay. So today we are going to be, working on a simple data set with Microsoft Power BI, right? While I specifically chose Power BI is because, it is easy to lay hands on, and even with very little knowledge, you can be able to find your way and do things around. Okay, so we also have our data set here, which is like a financial data set.
Sorry, Ayo, we can't see your screen.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
No, we can't see it. I don't know if it's
Okay,
just me.
let me check what's happening.
You can't see your screen, sir.
Okay, what about now? Can you see
Yeah,
now?
it's coming up. It's coming up.
Okay, I think it's the network. Okay, so I'm on the data page now. Can you see the data?
Yeah,
The
we
data
can.
set.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, good, good. So I brought this fiction data set to the class so we could walk through the process together. Now, as you can see, we have a simple data set where we have order IDs, we have dates, we have branch IDs, we have product IDs, and we have quantity. So this data set would belong to a particular store that receives orders, to sell their product, right? And all of these sales were made on different dates. All of these sales were made on different dates. And you can definitely see in this column where we have our branch ID, right? Showing each identifiers for different branches. Now, the concept of, coding works like this, having what we call order IDs, having what we call branch IDs, and some other things like that, is to put some level of privacy into our work and then to break our data sets down. So all of this I would not be able to explain in this class, but I believe when you fully come into the program, I will take you through all of these things myself. So we also have a column called product ID, which uniquely identifies each product that are in this data set. So we'll look at what each of those product ID means in about a minute. Then we have quantity sold column, which represents like, the quantity of each product that was sold in each particular order. So assuming a customer comes into Spar for purchases stuff from the store. The date factor is going to be collected too, because all data happened at a particular date and time. So data concerning dates is going to be on ground. Then, depending on the store, whether it's a store that is, has stores, multiple stores around the city, branch IDs are going to be assigned to, each of the branch. Then we would have a product ID that uniquely identifies each product. Just like if you, for instance, have the opportunity of viewing maybe Nestle, I think I've done that once, to view their data sets, then you would see that even all of their products are coded, in the sense that even if you lay your hands on a portion of the data, you don't necessarily know what it means. You can just see numbers, you can see IDs, you can see numbers and text being mixed together. Then we have quantity that shows like the number of items that each of those customers that comes into the store purchases. So we also have other tables here, like a product table that contains like, product IDs, unique identifiers for all of the products they sell in the stores. You can see the product names, just written as product A, product B, product C, D, E here. So no names attached, right? But then we have the category too, that gives us more information about the product, whether it's an electronic product, its own good, or it's a floating product. Then we have the cost and the price columns. So you notice that there is a dimension to this table. All of the parameters that you see here will tell you more about the product, right? It's the same thing when we come to the branches table. You see a column called branch ID, a column called branch name, and another one called location. So this dimension table is giving us information concerning each of the stores, right? The branches, where is it located, right? So that's how we work whenever we extract data sets from databases. From the concept of relational databases, we have tables that are linked to one another. So the basis for linking each of these tables is actually this IDs, which you call ID. You can see in this same place, you can have branch ID. In this other table, you have what we call the product ID. Then if you come to the main table, which is like the fact table, the table that contains majority of the data that is broken down, you would see that it houses both the branch ID that we saw in the branch table and the product ID that we saw in the product table. So that means that there is actually basis for being able to connect all of these tables. It's just, for instance, relativity, mathematics, right? A knows B, B knows C. So because of the relationship between A and B and C, then A can have a relationship with C. So it's the same thing in data, right? When we have keys like ID fields, they serve as, basis to be able to establish connections between multiple tables, right? So, like I said earlier, that we'll be using Microsoft Power BI. What we have to do is when we come to our Power BI environment, we have to try to bring that same data set we just tried to look at. We have to bring it in, right? So to bring it in, first thing you have to know is the kind of data you're bringing in, right? Now, we already saw the data in Excel. We saw that it was in an Excel workbook. So the way we bring in Excel workbook data in to Power BI is different from the way we probably bring in, we connect to databases, we connect to notebook files and different kind of files, that can house our data. So in this case, what we need to do is just select Excel workbook. Since our data is in our Excel workbook, then we can locate the path. Once you locate the path and you select the data set, right? Once you're able to open that, you just have to click on open. Then we have to select the data set, each of the tables, select 1, select 2, or select 3. So once we've been able to select, then we can proceed to come and transform our data, right? Remember I told you from the data analysis lifecycle that we collect data. When we collect data, we come and clean the data. So we have data already, because we didn't go through the process of, creating Google Forms, creating Excel sheets and systems that can help us to create data, collect data rather. We have the data set already, right? So what we need to do is get it into an environment where we can do cleansing on it, right? So once we click on transform data, Microsoft Power BI automatically brings us into the Power Query editor environment. I know many of us will definitely be used to this environment from Microsoft Excel, but then for those who have not used it before, it's just an environment that helps you to transform and cleanse your data, perform some cleaning tasks on the data. So just like this, I've been able to bring my data set into Power BI. I'm going to give 1 minute to check up on us, then we can pick up from there. So guys, do you understand everything I just did up to this point? So if you understand, just drop yes in the chat. Questions concerning what I just did, then you can raise them. So all I tried to do in the meantime was load the data set into Power BI. So just drop yes in the chat. Let me keep getting the yes. The yes can keep coming in. But if you have, questions concerning that, you can ask. So like I explained to you with the data, then we take through the process of cleaning. We've gotten the data already. We didn't have to stress to get that, right? Now we have to go and clean. We definitely have to clean, right? And, most data professionals say that data cleaning actually takes about 80% of the time that you will spend, on your data overall. Why? Because, humans can be funny. You could definitely pass out a Google form out to collect data. And some people would choose to, definitely they see it's a gender column where they have to fill in, maybe male or female. But then they could go ahead and fill boy. They could go ahead and, write M with male with 2 M's. Okay. Abdulmajid said, still can't hear you, sir. So if you can hear me, please drop yes in the chat. Let me confirm if the problem is with Abdulmajid. If you can hear me clearly, just drop yes in the chat. Okay, good. So Abdulmajid, I think what you have to do is you have to just try to reload that tab, then probably take you out and bring you back, then you'll be fine. Okay. So people can be funny, right? They can, just do things that you don't expect when you pass out forms to an data. That's where your job comes in. You must be able to get rid of, those mistakes, get rid of those errors, and standardize your data, bringing it to the point where it is fit for you to be able to extract insights from it. Okay. So once we bring, our data set into Power Query Editor, where we can perform our data cleaning, then we'll begin to look. So I'll start from the first table. Begin to look through the data to see if there are anything that needs correction here. So first things first, guys, you can see we have our first table, which is our branches table. But then look at it, something different is happening. These are supposed to be our column headers, right? But then something else is taking their position. Instead of this being our column headers, we're having column 1, column 2, and column 3. So what we want to do is we want to promote these guys to become headers so that they can take the actual place, right? So Power BI makes that simple. All you have to do is just come ahead. Then we want to make the first row as headers. So the option says use first row as headers. So once we click on that, easy. Microsoft Power BI, makes it. So let me hide this.
Yeah, we can hear you, Ayo. Please go ahead.
Okay. I'm back, right? So we try to promote the first rows to be our headers. And immediately we do that, we'll see that the first row takes its position as the headers actually. Then we look through the tables to see if they are, the data types are of the wrong data type, then we have to convert them to the actual data type. So we can see that for the branch ID, these are text. It's actually a text field because we have text and numbers. would say the same for branch name. It's actually a text field too. When we look for location, it's a text field. How do I know? I see ABC here. You can see. But then we also have other kind of data types that we can definitely use. In case it's a decimal number, it's a date field, a date time field, and all of those things, right? But in this case, I'm dealing with a text field. So I'll leave it as a text, right? But then looking at this column, I personally think there's no point having branches in front of all of this again, since this already states branch name. So branch name, Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt branch, just those 3 branches. So what we want to do in this case is to get rid of the branch that is after the names of this branch, right? To do that, we only have to perform a simple function, which is to replace, right? We want to replace this branch with an empty string. So we want nothing to be there. So we'd have only Lagos, we'd have only Abuja, and we have only Port Harcourt. So to do that, what we need to do is just, right click on the column and say replace values. Then it brings up this dialog box where we can ask for the value find. I can put in branch, right? Then it also asks for the value to replace it with. So I'll say replace it with nothing. I don't want any branch. I want an empty string, right? So once I do that, it gets rid of the branch for me. So I'm just having the name now, like Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. Then we can go ahead to look at the other tables. For instance, our product table. I'll check through to see that the data types are in the right format. So I see this is a text field, ABC. So I'll keep it as such because the column is a mixture of text and numbers. So whenever you see a column that is a mixture of text and numbers, we prefer to format them as text, to leave them as text, right? This is a mixture of name and numbers too. So it definitely has to be a text field. That's why you see it as ABC. See, ABC represents text, right? This is a text field too, ABC. Then we have unit cost, right? So guys, what data type are we going to format unit cost as? When we see unit cost, what data type are we going to format it as? Is it a text, right? Or is it money? Or is it date? What do we format it as? What kind of data type do we want to assign to it? So if we look at the options that we have here, you see we have decimal number, we have whole numbers, we have percentage, and different other data types, right? But then we all know that anything that has to do with cost, price, is definitely money, right? Okay, somebody says numbers or percentage. Okay, and then Naya says money. Okay, so whenever you see a field like that, what you want to format it as, you want to make it money. But then in Power BI, what do we use for money columns, right? That's where we come to use what we call fixed decimal number. So whenever you hear fixed decimal number in Power BI, it's talking like a money column, because definitely you can see beside it that we have a dollar sign. So I'll click on the dollar sign, and it asks me if I want to apply this as a new step. So apply as a new step. Then you can definitely see that there is a dollar symbol on the top of that column, meaning Power BI now recognizes it as a money column. I'll do the same for the unit price, since prices are money too. Fixed decimal number. Yeah. Then we want to have a look at our sales table again, where we have our order ID. Okay, these are numbers. So we can leave this as numbers for now. So there are other things we need to learn about IDs, and that definitely cannot be in the space of 1 hour. So we have our date column. You see it's properly formatted as date. Also, we can see a calendar sign beside the column. So that's date. Power BI reads that correctly as date. So we don't have to tamper with it anymore. Then we look at our branch ID, which is ABC. We left it same in the other table. See product ID, ABC, we left it same in the other table. And we see quantity, right? So when you're talking about quantity, guys, what kind of data type do we give to it? Kind of data type. So we have options, we have decimal number, we have whole number, we have percentage, we have date, we have.
All right.
Okay. I see my guys are answering already. Whole number, whole number. Somebody says percentage, right? I'm back. I can hear you loud and clear. Okay, good, good. Good to hear that, Majid. Yeah. So when you're dealing with a quantity column, right? For instance, I'm buying eggs, right? I purchase the first one, purchase the second one. So you see that you count it in whole numbers, right? You say one, you say two, you say three, you say four. Yeah. There might be cases where maybe you want to work with decimal numbers, right? But then in this case, we see it's formatted as whole number. Why? Because look at some of the products we are talking about. They're in the categories of electronics, clothing, and home goods, right? So we leave that as whole number to show that each of those products, a whole number is going to be attributed to each of those products. You can see we have 20 here. Even looking at the data in the column, there is no decimal, nothing like that. So we leave that as whole number. And in Power BI, the data type for whole numbers is 1, 2, 3, right? Now, one thing you guys have to know is in data, like working with data, one column or one parameter we value so much is our date field. We don't joke with our date fields. Why? Because there are so many other dimensions that are hidden in your date field that you can use to tell a lot of story. For instance, for you to get your date, you have to have a fusion of your day, you have to have a fusion of that with your month, and you have to have a fusion of that with your year. So you have like 3 parameters. Definitely, you don't want to lose your date column. So in this data set, I can see that we have a date column. So meaning there are a lot of things that we could extract from that date column. For instance, the day, the month, and the year, just like I explained earlier, right? So because we've registered or we've recorded the date now, means that we can tell a story of our sales across the date. We can tell a story of our sales across the month. We can tell a story of our sales across the days of the week, right? So date is really a powerful dimension, right? You definitely want to, expand it, and whenever you see it in data and get a lot of insights out of it. Okay. So what I'll do is, firstly, we want to extract the year out of this data, right? Power BI makes that simple and easy. What you need to do is simply come and say add column. Once you say add column, then you can come and click on the date. Then you click on year. Then you can extract the year out of it. So I would say year. You can see automatically that the years extracted out for me. I have 2020, 2022, 2021 in this case. I'll do the same to extract another dimension. I'll come to my date again. I'll extract another dimension. I could extract month. So I would extract the name of the month. So in this case, you can definitely see that I have February, November, all the name of the month, right? But one thing I love to do is I think ahead, right? So whenever we get to the stage of making visualizations, I don't want to have all of these long names, right? I want to have them shortened. That way, my visuals are not clumsy. So what we'll do is to extract. Once we come to extraction, we say we want to extract. And what do we want to extract? We want to extract the first characters. So Power BI asks us, how many characters do you want? I'll say I want 3. I want to extract the first 3. Because when you look at the typical calendar, that's how the months are written. Jan, Feb, March, April, and the rest of them like that. So I'd say 3. Once I do that, you see that is converted to that format for me. Then another thing we could extract, come to our date. Right? We could extract the day of the week. Okay, let's extract the month numbers first. So we would see why we're extracting these month numbers in a bit. We extract them to be able to sort our months when we start to make our visuals. So I would say month. that was supposed to be added as a new column. Sorry. So what I would do is I would add column. I would extract my month. I'll come back to the date column again. I would extract my date. So I would extract my day of the week. Then I would also extract the name of the day. So I'll come back to my date column, extract also the name of the day. So name of the day. Let's see that. So I have the day of the week. 1 minute. So I have the day of the week, as you can see. The sales that were made on Thursday now, I can be able to reckon them with that date. I have Wednesday. I have some other dates too. And you can see for each of the day of the week, a number is given to them. So I can order all of these dates, right? Once we've been able to extract all of these parameters, right, what we want to do is to load our data set and begin what we call exploratory data analysis. That means looking through the numbers and trying to make sense of it. So all the while, I've taken you through the process of, cleaning and transforming your data. Remember, we started in with getting data, loading our data set into Power BI. We've cleaned it now. Now we want to go ahead to visualize and to extract insights from our data, right? Okay, guys. So if you have questions at this time, right, I'm open to take your questions. If you would like me to continue, then you can drop continue in the chat. We've gotten our data. We've loaded it into our data analysis software. We've transformed the same. Then we want to take it to the process of EDA, what we call EDA, exploratory data analysis, right? Turning the numbers to insights, giving meaning to the numbers. So someone said, are we going to have the recordings? Yeah, definitely you are going to have a recording of this session. Definitely you are going to lay your hands on that. So Abdulmadi said continue, but where can I download the Power BI app? Okay, so the Power BI app is a freeware. It's a freeware. It's definitely available on Microsoft Store, right? Okay. So once we are done with that, what we do is we come to our home tab, and we can click on close and apply. When we click on close and apply, what Power BI believes is that we are done with our data transformation, and we want to begin to, make visuals, derive insights from the data set. So it might take some time to load, depending on how large your data set is or what you're doing, right? So that's why we tend to get systems that are solid, because softwares like Power BI would tend to drag, if your system is not so solid, tend to drag you back. So if you definitely get into the program, you need to have a system to run all of this software. Okay, so you can see all the tables we worked on. I'll click on the table view in Power BI. Then we can see all of the tables. You can see our branch table we worked on. You can see our product table we worked on earlier. And you can see the sales table we worked on earlier. So it presented earlier. So what we want to do is to model our data. Remember, I told you that we have 3 different tables. But then we want to establish connections between all of these tables, so that Power BI can know that all of these tables are related. Then we can be able to work across all the tables. So what do we do to establish that? The process is called data modeling. Data modeling. Data modeling. Right? So data modeling is, the process of you relating tables in your relational database. Right? For instance, when you're looking like at organizations like okay, organization we can know well, organizations like Spar, ShopRite, and all of those places, right? They work with large tables, but then all of these tables are definitely broken down into dimensions. And that's what we are replicating here. We've looked at the dimension branch table, looked at the dimension product table. Then we have our main table, which is our facts table. But though all of these tables are broken down into smaller tables, you have to unify them before you begin to make your analysis, right? So how do we unify? In Power BI, we come to the data modeling tab. Once we click on the model view, okay, you can see, in fact, Power BI automatically establishes the relationship for me. Let me drag this out. You can see there is a thin line joining the branches table, which we looked at earlier, to the sales table. There is another thin line joining the products table, which we looked at earlier, to the sales table. That's because Power BI, with the use of computer intelligence, has been able to detect that, okay, I think these tables are related to one another. Why does it think that? Because the same product ID you have here, Power BI sees that you have in this table as well. You have in this table as well here. The same branch ID you have here, Power BI notices that you have in this same table here as well. So it tries to establish that connection between all of these tables, right? So Power BI has established this automatically. We don't need to start establishing it again, right? But then when we have more time to ourselves, we can, break this down. How you create connections and all of those things. They are really, really very important skills that you need to have as a data professional, right? Because whether you're working with databases, whether you're working with BI applications, whether you're working with spreadsheets, whatsoever you're working with, if I'm going to give my job to you, I want to be able to know that, you can model data, you can create connections between them, you can get dimensions out of tables. Okay, so since our connections are established, what we want to do is to get it step. It's like the last but one. So what we want to do in Power BI, whenever we want to start making visualizations, so we come to our report view. This is where is the arena where you can get to make, you see those stunning dashboards on LinkedIn. I have a lot in my portfolio too, which you guys can check up from my LinkedIn later on. I think I'll drop the URL here. So when you see those stunning visualizations, this is where they are made. See stunning reports, stunning dashboards that stakeholders can look at and be able to get insights from. This is where they are made. All right. So let's look at some insights we could gather from this data. I see, for instance, in the sales table, we have branches, right? See branch IDs represented here. All of these branch IDs are related to a particular branch in this branch table. So for instance, if I click on branch table, do you see that all of these IDs, ID 001, Lagos branch, 002, Abuja branch, 003, Port Harcourt. So all of those IDs are relating to different branches. The same with the product, all IDs are relating to different products. So let's say, for instance, we are trying to look at the branches, trying to have an idea of what's happening across our branches, right? Then what we have to do is pick up, for instance, a visualization type here. The most simple one we can pick here is a table. So I'll pick out a table, right? So I'll pick out a table. So let's look at, some possible things we could look at in this data set. We have a date column, we have day of the week, order ID, and all of those stuff, right? So let's look at how many orders did each branch data set, and throws a question at you like, okay, I have a couple of branches here. I also have an idea of how many orders each of these branches handled. In that case, what you have to do is pick on your table, which is like the simplest visualization. right? I'll come to my branches table. I can pick up my branch name. So you would see that immediately I do that. Let me make that bigger. What I want to do in the values tab, I'll make that a bit bigger. Immediately I do that, I have the name of all my branches. You can see Abuja branch, Lagos branch, Port Harcourt branch, right? Then I can come and click on my branch ID too. Sorry. Click on my order ID. We are looking at how many orders came into each of this branch, right? Why we're clicking on the order ID is because every order is associated with a particular number. For instance, when you buy stuff, you have numbers on your teller or receipt that shows, okay, this is the number for that particular order. When you check out at the cashier's place, there is a unique number that is given to the order that you made. Count of the order ID number, you're getting exactly the number of orders that was taken probably in that day, in that week, in that month, or in that duration. Okay, so what I would do is I would click on my order ID. So you see that immediately in my table, there is a breakdown of how many order each of these branches took. And from here, I can see that, okay, in my Abuja branch, I have like 333 orders, Lagos, almost the same, 332. So though these numbers they are close, but then you could definitely see that, okay, one branch is taking orders more than the other, right? Those were just, what we had initially were just numbers. But look at how, with Power BI, we are trying to give meaning to the numbers. Look at how with Power BI, we are trying to extract, look at what current situation are we in. With Power BI, we are trying to, look for what is happening with the company currently so that we can be able to give insights on how to move forward, on where to go next, right? So to make this a visual, what we just have to do is click on a visual, or click on a visual. In this case, I just pick on historical. Is it ordinal? Is it nominal? All of those things influence us to picking the right kind of visual. Okay, so I'm giving a minute of check, guys. Okay, so if you're still together, drop continue in the chat. If you have questions, please ask me your questions. I'm trying to make it as snappy as possible. I'll be honest with you that data is not what we could, take in this time, right? This very small time. But then I believe that when you come into the program with us, we'll be able to take you through all of these things in the extended course of the program. You'll be able to have a full and deeper understanding of these things. Okay, so Omolade says continue. Other guys, drop replies in the chat. I want to hear from you. Okay, Majid said my network is really unstable, so I'm missing some steps. Yeah, Majid, I understand. But then, okay, we also have a recording of this session for you, so you can be able to watch after now. Adobe says, please, how may we achieve the following business question from data, which are the top branch to make the highest sales in 2023? Yes, we could definitely do that. We could definitely do that. We could definitely do that. So Barry says, what is data modeling? Yeah, data modeling is, establishing relationships between a tables in what we call a relational database, right? It's a very interesting concept. But when we're talking about relational database is just, a database where we have multiple tables that have relationships with one another. For instance, I used an instance of SPA earlier. You probably have a table for all of their sales day to day. They have another table for all of the sales agents or employees that makes all of those sales. That could be the employees table. The other table will be the sales table. They could have other tables concerning clients that are international. That would be another table. But all of these tables are associated with the same organization, and you would find elements of what is present in one table inside another table. So these tables are related, right? So we call them a relational database, right? Because they are relational database now, then we can establish connections between every table inside of it. Just like I demonstrated for you guys now, when we had 3 tables. But then the tables are built around the same thing. We're looking at sales. All of those sales happened in a particular branch. We're looking at sales. All of those sales were concerning a particular product. So the product table on that basis would be joined to the sales table, because every time a sale is made, the product that was sold must be referenced. Every time a sales is made, the branch where the product was sold has to be referenced too, right? So Nobari, I hope you get a better understanding of data modeling now. So data modeling is a process where you are showing those relationships. It's a very interesting one, which I would love to explain more, but then we have to move now. So definitely I'll be open to see in the program so I can, break the concept down more to you. Very, very interesting stuff. Okay. So let's see. Right. So we've been able to look at the orders that came in. Sorry, please don't unmute your mic unless you're trying to ask questions, right? So we don't get distracted by you. So we've tried to look at, the number of orders that came into those branches. But then somebody mentioned something interesting that we should try to look at the sales that came into the branches, right? So to look at that, what we need to do is basically come to our sales table, right? Let's come to look at our sales table. We have a quantity column here. Notice how we have a quantity column, right? So quantity column tells you how many units of a particular product was ordered at a particular time, right? Then let's come to look at our product table. You see that we have something like unit price. So unit price means how much a product was sold for at a particular time, right? So guys, we have unit price now. We also have quantity. Guys, what formula do we need to calculate revenue? So revenue is the same thing as sales, right? So the same question she's asking, we are calculating revenue. What do we need to calculate revenue in this case? Remember, we have unit price and we have quantity sold. So I want to hear from you guys in the chat. What formula do we need to calculate revenue or sales? Yeah, Habib said we multiply both. Great. We multiply both, right? A bottle of Coke sells for 14 naira, for instance. I purchased 3. That's 120 naira. So the revenue that the person that sold to me earned is that total amount. So what we need to do in this case is to pick on the sales table, right? Then I add a new column into this table so that I can get, the revenue for each of those sales that was made, right? So once we put in a new column, we could call it sales. We call this sales. Once we call that sales, remember we said it is price. times quantity. So what I would do is I would say quantity, which is present in this table, quantity. So you see that automatically Power BI suggests this column to be quantity inside of the sales table. This means the table, this means the column. So yes, that's definitely what I want. So I'll click on tab. I want to multiply that. I'll put a multiplication sign with what? With the unit price. Remember, the unit price is not in this table. It's in another table. But then we've established a connection between our sales table and that other table. So then we have to tell Power BI that these two tables are related. So what I want is not here, but the table where it's in has a relationship with this table. So I would say it's related. Then I can now say unit price. Then immediately I do that, I should get that sales or the revenue column. Now you see I have that. I have the sales or the revenue column now. And once I have this, I can come to my visuals, make these about, let me just make a duplicate of this. We looked at how many orders came into each of these branches here. Or now we could be looking at, in terms of revenue, what is happening in each of these branches. Since we have a revenue or a sales column now. So what I'll do is duplicate this. Once I duplicate this, rather than having orders here, I'll just have my sales or my revenue in there. So you can see that now we have an idea of what is happening in terms of the revenue that is coming into all of the branches, right? You can definitely see Port Harcourt branch taking the lead. You can see Lagos branch in the trail. Okay, Omolade says, is it a must we put related? Yes, because the columns you're trying to multiply in are not in the same table. So related is your way of telling Power BI that there's actually a relationship between these tables. I did that in the modeling tab. So I want you to take up that relationship, right? And let me do what I want to do. So that's what related does. That's what related does. So now I could have my, I could look at each of those branches. So I'll put this aside. Let's put this on one side. Let's put this on one side. Okay, let's put this on one side too for now. Then remember, we created a field called day name. Don't forget that, guys. We created a field called day name. Look at day name. Look at day name, for instance. We created a field called day name, right? We could tell a story that. Thank you for the acknowledgement, right? Okay. So we have a field called day name. This is a field called day name. What if we wanted to look at across the duration that this data was collected? What's the average sales that we expect on each weekday? So if I'm working for this organization, on Thursday, how much sales, every Thursday, how much sales should I look forward to, right? Average does not necessarily mean that we are predicting the exact same benchmark, and gives us like an average value, what we are to expect. So what I'll do is, first things first, let's see. I want to sort this field, right? So I want to sort this field by the day of the week. Now, why I'm sorting it by the day of the week, so that in my chart, the day name can be ordered. We don't have to start the day before Monday, and we don't have, it's not scattered that way. So what I would do next is to come and pick a visual. In this case, I'll pick a visual that can help me, talk about trends. Why do we pick a visual that can help us talk about trends? Because matters that deal with, durations, we use what we call a line chart, right? So what I would do is I'll pick this up. Then I can come and pick up my day name. Okay, let me pick up my day name. I also pick up my sales, right? So you can see that once I pick that up, I have an idea of what is happening around the sales for each day of the week. You can see Sunday, you can see Monday, you can see Tuesday, you can see Wednesday, and each other day of the week. But then look at what I have here. The summary I have here says sum of sales. Now, right, a lot of people do analytics, but then it's important that while you are on a project, working on an analytics project, you're thinking through, right? You're thinking through, you're thinking about this visualization I'm getting. Does it have a meaning? Does it make sense to the stakeholders? What does it empower them to do? Right? So rather than having a sum of sales, what sum of sales tells me is how much they've made on Monday throughout, the data set, how much they've made on Tuesday, how much they've made on total. That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So what we want to do is to look at the average. That speaks more to what we are doing. So we can know, okay, on Tuesdays, this is how much, sales should expect past, duration. So what I'll do is I'll click on here and I'll change this to average. So that once I change that to average, chart changes. So you can't use sum to determine what will be in average. No. So from this chart, I can definitely see that, okay, Sundays on average, this is like the average value of, the sales we make on Sundays. So this is I think $1,304. That's like the average. So every Sunday you are looking up to, expecting to make around that range. If you make lesser than that, you know that market is not so good today. The same happens for Monday. So from these guys, which day has the highest average sales? Is it Sunday? Is it Monday? Is it Saturday? Guys, which day has the highest average sales? So on which days should we expect more sales during the week? So guys, just drop answers in the chat. I'm looking to hear from us. Okay, see, I have my answers coming in now. Saturday. Someone said Monday or Saturday. So let's look at what we have on Monday. Monday, we have $1,352. Here we have $1,357. So Saturday actually exceeds, Monday by a bit. So Saturday. So it means that on Saturday, we are expecting more sales. But then look at what's happening on Tuesdays. Look at what's happening on Tuesdays. So based off all of this, because it is really not only about making all of these visuals, it's nice to make them. It's nice to, understand what they mean after you've made them. But it's nice to be able to extract insight. I say many people are tool users. They know how to use these tools. But then, the mindset, that mindset that an analyst has, that investigative, quality, that storytelling ability is not there. And that's one thing you have to train yourself with right from the onset when you set out. Very important. So what I'll do is, in this case, I'll just put this to one side. Don't have all the time. I'll put this to one side. And the beautiful thing about Power BI is you could break this down even by the branch. Look at what is happening in terms of average sales across the branches. So look at what I could do. What I could do is bring up my branch name in this case, bring it to my legend. If I drop that, see a summary of the average sales across all of the branches initially, which is like a summary value across the 3 branches. But then now, the moment I decide to break it down by branches, I could see for each of the branch, right? when we looked at earlier, okay, for Port Harcourt, Saturday is like the day that has the highest average sales, right? Saturday is like the day that has the highest average sales. But then, C for blue, the blue is Abuja. It's a different game entirely. When we look at it for Lagos, it's another thing. It is Monday. So, right, that is how, breaking your data into different levels of granularity can also help you to extract some other kinds of insight. So, not to take all of the time, I'll just bring this down, right? I'll put this here, just to give it some level of arrangement. I'll put this here, make it a bit smaller. I could, just let it occupy the space here. So since everybody can see the day name here, I'll just come in to my y-axis, turn off the day name, turn off the title, come into my x-axis to turn off the title. So the chart could be bigger. Then, as regarding the sum of sales we calculated earlier. Okay, so guys, think about it. I don't only want to look at the sales or the revenue. I want to look at the profit too. Is there a way I can do it to look at profit across all of these branches? Is there a way we can do it? Think about it. We have the selling price column already. We have the units sold column already. If we can get profit out of this, type me the formula in the chat. Let's hear from you. If we can get that out of this, type the formula in the chat. Let's hear from you. To get profit, remember we have sales price, we have cost price, we have quantity, we have all that we need. We have all that we need. Okay, so what we are expecting to get that from us, we could also insert a card in here. On a card, we could look at the order ID. Once I bring my order ID on a card, Power BI automatically does a count of the order ID. So I know how many orders this company received through the duration of the data. So they received 1,000 orders, right? Do you see that? Just by putting that information on a card, I can see, how many orders the organization received. So in the same way, we could bring in what we'll call a slicer into this. So if I click on what we'll call a slicer, look at this is a slicer. A slicer just means a filter. So if I put a filter in here, no, not that. I don't want you to tell my it's into a slicer. Okay. So I think I'm having replies in the chats already. Somebody says revenue minus cost. Yeah. Revenue minus cost. Revenue minus cost. So that guys, you want to help us. You're trying to get profit out of this. So look at if we can look at the profit across the branches. So the total orders, I could look at, how many products. So this is just like, getting KPIs, things that people can easily see on your visual and, it gives them first-hand information, right? Before they even go ahead to look at other things that, inform them of what the data is about. Everybody that looks at this data, seeing 1,000 up there, we can be able to tell them that they can, just be able to know that immediately that we took 1,000 orders during that time. So I'll just call it a name. I'll give it, I think I'll call it total orders. So I could just call it total orders. I'll make it bold. You can see. So total orders 1,000. We could also look at, the total product. Put that in here, side by side with it. Yeah. So I put that in here, side by side with it. And all I have to do to get my product, total number of products, is to count how many product IDs I have. Remember, each product ID is a different product. Product ID 1 represents a different product. Product ID 2 represents a different product. So I'll bring in my product ID in here. So I'll make it a count. product ID. Let me bring it in from my products table, sorry. Because, okay, I'll make it a count. So once I make it a count, Power BI automatically tells us that we have 5 products. So through this data, we had 1,000 orders selling 5 different products. So let's look at renaming that. I'll call that title. I'll call it product. The title, order total product. Order total product. Across how many branches? Across 3 branches, right? So what we need to do is duplicate this. Once we duplicate this, just your regular Control C and V. Then we can look at how many branches. Our branch ID column is what we'll click. Then we count how many branch ID we have. So all of these things are, just little effort, and you get all of these things out, right? Because we are using Power BI. So we've looked at the fact that we had 1,000 orders. 1,000 orders for 5 different products. Total branches. All that total branches. So let's okay, so for the profit calculation, yeah, that's very possible, right? And I see that we know how to get that out already. Just by using your revenue, subtracting your cost out of your revenue, you can get your profits column. And definitely once you get that, you can be able to make your visuals, looking at profits across different branches, looking at profits across, different months. You probably look at profits across different dates too. Some of these things will give you better insights into what is happening in the organization. Okay, guys, if you have questions at this time, please raise your questions. Let me take your questions. If you have questions for me, please raise your questions. I'll take your questions. Questions, guys? Anyone has questions? Do you need clarifications on anything?
So guys, I think Ayo is asking us to ask questions from what he has been saying. I see a lot of you have been following up.
Any clarification?
Okay, so you can drop your questions. Ayo is here to answer you. If there's anything you need clarity on, just ask your question. You can unmute and ask, or you drop it in the chat box.
Yeah, now is the time.
So I think
Somebody
there are
said, can a
questions
particular product,
dropping, yeah.
can a particular product, yeah, I'm looking at the questions, right? So Nobari says, can a particular product have 2 IDs? That's something you have to come against, right? Now, product IDs can, be generated in a couple of ways, right? For instance, I got a data set from a friend then. The guy works at Nestle. So he needed some, some help doing some little analysis. So he sent me the data set, which is supposed to be confidential, right? I'm not supposed to have it in the first place. But then he sent it. But it's my job to know I'm not supposed to let it out. So looking at the data set, right, I saw, product IDs for different, they make a lot of products now, from the regular tea to sweets to, different things that they make, right? So each of them had a distinct product ID. Now, for products that are closely related, right, they could have a product ID that looks similar. For instance, maybe for Milo, maybe for tin Milo would be, let's say for instance, BEV 19 AD. For sachet Milo could be maybe BEV 19 AD or maybe 20 AD, another particular number, so that they could be very close, but they must not be the exact same thing. So that everybody that sees the BV categories probably knows that, okay, this is talking about some set of products, but then they must not be the exact same thing. If they are the exact same thing, how are you expected to make, a distinction between them? Products that are the same have the same product ID. Products that are different, no matter how small the differences, should have different product IDs. So Nobari, did I answer your question? If I did, just drop a yes in the chat. Somebody saying, how can we execute row level security? So by row level security, you're saying
Mic check, Ayo.
yeah, I
Mic
can
check.
hear you. I was asking a question.
Okay, okay.
Hello?
All right, I can hear you now. I thought your network threw you out again.
Okay, no. Yes, you could definitely, okay, if you're talking about, granting access to different users, on what different users can see, you could definitely do that on Power BI service, right? To be able to determine which people have access to, be able to view different things in your chart, right? That's some level of putting security or privacy on your work. Yes, it can be in Power BI service. It can be done, yes. The privacy, security. So most of this, not only even in Power BI, right? Most of this data analysis software like SQL and the rest of them provide a level of security to determining how much of access people could have to your work. Right? If I'm not getting any other questions, I'm guessing that we are very good with everything we touched. So if that means we are very good with everything we touched, guys, I would like that you drop, yes in the chat. You are very good with everything we touched. Just drop yes in the chat. Say yes, we're good. Yes, we're good. Yes, we're good. Yes, you could. Somebody says, can you execute the traffic lights option? Yeah, example to signal red when sales drop. Yeah, relay giving threshold. Yeah, yeah, but these are not things I would do in basic level class. Yes, you could definitely use a conditional formatting with your DAX formula, data analysis expressions, and assign colors to them so that you could get different colors depending on whether the sale is rising or the sale is dropping. Yeah, you could do that. Even with ordinary DAX, you could be able to do that. And assign colors, just put in color codes and you get that done. Yes. Okay. So I think because of our time, this is where I have to draw the curtain. If there are no further questions, thank you guys for taking your time out to join me on this session. And I have to hand over to Lucy at this point. Hello, Lucy, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you, Ayobami. Thank
Yeah.
you so
So
much for
I'm happy
the
seeing some of the
session.
comments.
All right, so you can stop sharing your
Yeah,
screen
but
now.
then we
Thank
have to
you.
go now.
Yeah. You can stop
Okay.
sharing your screen. Thank you.
Just 1 minute.
So guys, I'm sure that a lot of you followed everything that Ayo said. I could see it was very interactive and I really, really, really love that. I love the fact that you guys were, interacting with him and you were, following up. So that shows that he was doing real justice to the program and to the session. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I'd like you all to follow us on our social media handles, like on X, which is the former Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere. LinkedIn. You can follow us at utiva.io. Just click Utiva, type utiva.io in your URL, and it will take you to our page on any of the social media handles. Okay, so make sure you are following us to get more information and all. So I would like to see everyone in class. And tell me, did you really enjoy the session? Let me even ask, did you guys enjoy the session? Go to the chat box, tell me if you can enjoy the session, if you really did enjoy the session and you want to, get more of this. So go to the chat box, tell me, yes, 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 I enjoyed the session. I want to see like plenty yes, because you guys are really enjoying the session. When I saw the interaction and everything, I felt like, okay, Ayo was really doing justice to this program. And I love the way he was carrying everyone along and all. Nobody was left out, and I'm sure everyone got one or two from this session today. So hit me up in my WhatsApp and then let's talk about how you get enrolled in the next class that is coming up. Make sure you don't miss this, because why not? You have been saying, oh, I will learn a tech skills since the beginning of this year. We are in May, and before you know, the year is gone. So make sure you're learning a tech skill. Make sure you're learning something. Start from somewhere so you can, do well. So it's already time for us to draw the curtains, and for those of us that are still going to work tomorrow, so it's time for me to leave you guys to go have your rest. So make sure you take a lot of rest, and for those that wants the recording, you can chat me up also. I'll share the recordings with you. Have a beautiful evening. We can't wait to hear from you guys at Utiva. Make sure you reach out to us to actually get enrolled in the program. Thank you guys and have a lovely evening.